Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Bites. This is our tips, trends, and thought leadership for those in the business of talent. And I'm absolutely delighted to have a friend and a colleague from afar over on the other coast, Angela Leigh. Welcome to our podcast today. It's wonderful to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here. It feels almost like a full circle moment and yet still part of everything. So I'm elated to be a part of this experience.
It really does. And we've got a rich history together. We worked together at Equinox. You've gone on and done a bunch of roles across content and also talent. So I'm just so happy to talk to you today because it's such a dynamic time in talent. So I just want to welcome you to the show, Angela Leigh, talent producer for Mirror, of course, working alongside or as part of Lululemon. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about that shortly. Now, you've held very similar roles. You've worked for some brands that people know about. TRX, head of content, talent and fitness programming there. And I saw that Randy just got the company back and is doing a big turnaround there. So watch that space. Also VP of content and talent. You've worked at Pure Yoga. You've worked at Equinox, as I mentioned before. And we first met when you were heavily involved in ETC, so Equinox Training Club. So that was sort of small group training before it became cool and, really wrapped the community around that. So you've got such a depth of knowledge across the product side, but also the talent. And tell us, what have you been up to over the last few years? Bring us up to speed to today.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the highlights, which was great. And, currently New York City have such a pleasure to work with Mirror, and who is a part of Lululemon, and soon to be what Mike and Calvin shared at Analyst Day back in April was kind of the coming soon of Lululemon Studio. So, which is kind of that omni-channel experience, which is really like the full scope of improving like health and well-being and embracing the grassroots of community. So allowing our members who've come to grow and love the Mirror in their homes and have an opportunity for them to, access content IRL with some of the partners we've onboarded and we'll be sharing content with in the very near future. So that's immediate, like where I am currently. And then having a pit stop at TRX for a year was really fun to be a part of something so incredible. Who is, TRX is, a net positive, incredible piece of equipment that most anybody in the fitness industry knows. And then to try to figure out to solve the problem of how do you take this incredible device, put it in people's homes and empower them to feel comfortable on it was a fun problem to solve, and build a, startup digital product from scratch with live and on-demand content. So much fun. And then before that was VP of Aptive, which was really fun. Yeah, which is like the MVP in the audio coaching space. And so being a part of that, that was my true transition from the brick and mortar space, which was really seeped in the community IRL boutique, whether at Pure or Equinox. And as you said, Equinox Training Club, which was really the genesis of community in big box gyms, which is incredibly difficult to like lock into. But then transitioning to digital, working for Aptive was really just like my fast feed master's class in how to this is how you think about content, take some similar concepts of IRL boutique fitness programming, and how do you then use data and information and kind of the raw facts of like that cerebral pragmatic brain, and then lace it and merge it with the fabric of what we know great talent and great like IRL programming to be, and just start to like turn the dials a bit to create like a rubric of like what great digital talent is, what great IRL talent is, and same for content. And, for the most part, best practices cascade across both lines, but there are differences one has to be informed of when you recruit and cast really talent in a digital space.
I can't believe you've crammed so much into the few short years since we worked together. It's really, really, really incredible. And we are seeing technology move sort of at the speed of light at the moment. I would say that it's not a beautiful, seamless experience. I think we're still getting there. And we know that everyone's trying to play a big part in the ecosystem, whether they're trying to own that whole ecosystem or not. Just a couple of questions. With Lulu Studios, is that an actual place, or is it a virtual place, or is it both? And if so, where?
Excellent question. Lululemon Studio will be the essential mirror in which the vehicle that someone will access our content. So consider our platform, and that will still be available through the beautiful piece of equipment, which is the hardware, which is the mirror. Yes. And Lululemon Studio is essentially what we will be calling ourselves moving forward, which is that collective of our owned content, which is our 15 trainers that have been on the platform from anywhere from 4 to 2 years. And then the introduction, as Calvin and Mike had shared in the analyst, of bringing some partners into the mix, which is some familiar boutique studio names that are known across the country. And those platforms will house content on the Mirror that our current members can access, and hopefully future members as well. And of course, there's some fun benefits for those who are current members and want to go take those classes IRL, because that's really the beauty and kind of the grassroots approach that Lululemon has always taken, which is communities, which is we embrace all types of movement, fitness, wellness, while still really drilling into the yoga and to the like running and to the training, and then spreading it out within, local spaces. So people in St. Paul, Minnesota have like an incredible Lululemon experience in all their boutique studios, just like us in New York City, who've got like the mecca of all things fitness.
That's great. So is the strategy the reason to go agnostic? So you've got your 15 own, you've got your own content, and then the reason to sort of bring in other boutiques, is that coming from the consumer's demand? Like we want to do, are you allowed to name some of these brands?
I'm not allowed to name some of the brands, but okay. I will say that they're quite known. Yeah, right. Household names, 100%. And it's really about, one, a response to the fact that, COVID changed everything in terms of how the business was moving as a whole. And I say business is like the fitness industry, like that whole industry has gone through a wash cycle many of times. And we're still kind of like spinning around, figuring out, where is this all going to land? How is this going to line up? And I still think we're all figuring our way through it, but it's taking the understanding of what's been tried and true to Lululemon, which is community, which is empowering their ambassadors to really leverage their communities to bring the awareness of, how Lululemon supports their people. And then also not straying away from digital fitness, because this has offered people time back to their lives. People really enjoy having agency over their day, knowing they can get an incredible experience in their living room or bedroom and not have to commute. So it's really kind of having a solution for that problem of, I want the option to go into a real life experience, but I also want the option to be at home based on how I've kind of acclimatized my routine, because, hottest commodity is your time. And if you have to negotiate that within yourself and figure out things alongside of it, it just makes things tricky. And so our solution was, we want to support our communities IRL, and we also want to keep people happy and excited to stay at home. Like for us, there's no wrong answer. It's just the right answer is providing opportunity for both incredible experiences.
Right, got it. And then, of course, you do exist in the greater subset of, you're essentially an athleisure brand, which is a lot more agnostic and feeding a lot of the boutiques and fitness experiences per se. So I guess you are coming from more of a global position, and that's the other thing we're finding, and we'll talk about trends shortly. What you've found happened over the pandemic is that people are choosing the things that they love, and they're pulling that into their own little ecosystem. So talk to me about, let's think about talent and what sort of has happened over the last 2.5 years. So Lulu bought Mirror pretty early in the pandemic piece. So that was a big, bold move. I think it was quite brilliant, because you are bringing together the community, athleisure, big, strong play into content. And we know that the actual live facilities, some of the headquartered Lululemons were running great classes across more than yoga. What did you notice from a talent perspective shifted during the pandemic? And I will also throw in there, we have watched the rapid rise in the settling period and the drop off of our friends at Peloton, et cetera, et cetera. So Connected Fitness has had a moment. But what have you seen from a talent perspective?
I think with the talent perspective, the I guess you could say the most obvious is like the rise of the independent contractor, and that somebody who is a fitness professional who at one point probably depended on a source, either a big box gym or a studio, to create their income stream. They have been able to find ways to either do it themselves out of necessity, because when COVID first hit, it was everyone kind of blind leading the blind, following who's doing what, how can I ramp up a Zoom class as fast as possible, and then figuring out that there was solutions being made, which were probably rushed to market, but solutions to empower the independent trainer or facilitator, or however you want to kind of label yourself, to host your own content channel. And that has continued to grow, and especially with how people are being shown and surfaced on Instagram and TikTok, everyone's a creator. Everyone's curating content, whether it is fitness content, wellness content, blogger content, food content, you name it, everyone's creating content. So it's like understanding what is your special experience that you can offer that will drive people to some sort of paid subscription model or something that's going to drive revenue into your own hands. So what I've seen and witnessed is that there's ample talent out there, but they've actually started to curate their own lane of revenue. So the once coveted, like, I want to be a full-time trainer for this brand, and maybe back in the era of like the master trainer, I want to be a master trainer for this brand and for this brand and this brand, that is kind of coming back into play. There's a lot of people who've just landed on a really incredible solo experience and have developed great digital content, and maybe have started to do more hybrid in real life and digital. But the talent is so rich right now. There's so much of it. And I think that's what's interesting is like, it's some of the individuals are less excited to join a singular brand. There's still a lot of people who do. But what I've noticed is that this time has empowered talent to use their voice and really lean into what makes them thrive. And that's been really fun to watch and be able to see people who maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to have a digital platform based on like less available companies now have their own successful businesses, which is really incredible to see.
Oh, that's great. Two more questions. So how does your approach to talent around DEIB go? That's question one. And then secondly, given that you see so much data, what are you seeing in the rise of mental health apps and all of that sort of stuff? What are you tracking in those two areas?
Yeah. Well, in terms of just having an ensemble, a cast of talent that can connect and genuinely appeal to different audience segments is really important to me as a person, in the sense that I want to ensure that anybody who decides to be a part of our content platform and our community, that they feel comfortable and excited and energized by at least one of our trainers. A couple would be great. All would be, impossible to think that, but that would be wonderful. But the idea is that, everybody feels like they have their coach, their trainer, their person. And that really does mean taking an honest look and understanding who is our current audience, but then also who is our audience yet to be? And then how can we start to cast and bring people in that can tap into those segments that people would be excited to say, maybe currently they're not ready to be a member of our platform, but now if they see this person, they're feeling comfortable and excited and energized to be part of that. So it's always be casting. ABC for me is I'm always looking of who would be a great addition to the experience, whether it's in a full-time capacity or in a guest strategy. And in terms of the content and just overall, like, how do we cast for talent within that? I think for me, some of the surprises I've seen was, I would say, like, the drop of mental health apps and how that rose so quickly. And that was such a trending buzzword / campaign. Everyone take care of your mental health. And then all these apps were coming on the market, obviously some that are very successful, but seeing, a good amount of layoffs. And also they've been sharing their data. A good amount of their users have churned and they have not rejoined. And their also engagement is down. So to me, that is a question of, is it the content? Is it the platform? Is it just like the appetite has gone away? To me, those are all the curious questions. And then obviously, like, having information within our own platform to make those decisions of how we then, ensure that our users are getting the best content at the right time for what they need.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And I guess it's a watch this space. I think we're sort of early in the data post-pandemic. I know that there's been in some areas, when I look at, I was at the Mind Body conference last week and just looking at the comeback, the certain areas that have come back. I know the coasts are still dragging a little bit on the middle of the country, which isn't completely surprising. It's also related to lockdown periods and how hard that was and things like that. But it is interesting. And also, mental health did take the number one position above physical health during the pandemic for obvious reasons. We can't believe that it's gone away. We've now built it into the workplace, but maybe people are getting it in a different way. Maybe the pressures have subsided a little bit, but I think it will be interesting to track it. But thank you for sharing that with us, because it's not something that I've heard commonly shared around. And I think it's an important topic that we somehow incorporated into our platforms to make sure that we're looking at after that going forward. So let's talk a little bit about Lulu is famous, and we've already touched on this already, for its ambassadors, its community, its ability to be hyper local and to hold up those dreams and aspirations on a site by site and area by area basis. What plans have you got in the future to build on ambassador?
Many. Some are yet to be unleashed in terms of what I can offer at the moment. All of our current trainers, which are 15 full-time trainers, they are Lululemon ambassadors. So they are embodying the brand and the values in their life on and off camera and really showing up in a full, powerful, meaningful way. And, Lululemon has over 1,400 ambassadors globally, maybe more. And so that is a incredible pipeline of individuals to access. And so there are great plans to be able to figure out an equitable and smart and helpful way to, again, tap into the audience segments to then also offer some new, fun, different niche content, coaching styles, approaches to wellness and fitness, and also maybe like different content types that you wouldn't expect to see on a platform. So it's really incredible to have this partnership because the talent that they've empowered in their communities could potentially be a part of a more global digital experience.
Great. And then do you find that what you commit digitally, is it completely echoed in the real world, or are there quite a lot of differences there?
It's pretty similar. It's actually one of the things that we strive for in terms of what we offer for the digital experience is that, we have over 17 genres, categories, however you want to label them in the digital content world. But we really do try to go for that like breadth of catalog. So you aren't really missing anything, whether it's strength or cardio or boxing, kickboxing, dance, ballet, Latin groove, like you name it. We want to have variety, freshness, newness. We have over 10, almost 12,000 classes. Like we just don't stop, which is pretty incredible. It's definitely probably the largest catalog out there. But we do believe that what you experience on our platform is just as, if not more impactful than what you might get in real life setting. Just kind of depends on, what you enjoy as a person and how you are motivated, whether it's in a group of people or singular.
Great. Quick question. When you actually cast, what do you look for? Because I think we're in an age of people want the real deal. How do you cast people?
I cast for people who are unique. They're grounded. They have a natural, solid, confident, emotional resting state. I enjoy individuals who can get up and rally and perform. But one of the first questions I ask anybody is, are you coachable? It's a yes or no answer. And if there's any hesitation, for me, it's usually not the right fit at the moment, because when I'm looking for at least casting for this crew, we're always on the growth path. How can we be better? How can we improve? How can we do more for our community? And that also kind of embodies like the values of Lululemon is like, we're on this path of growth. It goes back to growth or fixed mindset, and also thinking about culture and chemistry. And, casting for a singular person gets tricky when you have them working in an ecosystem of other individuals. And so the chemistry of how individuals connect on and off camera is really important. And we just had an all-team photo shoot and it was electric. I had goosebumps watching this crew together because they all genuinely love each other and love spending time with each other, which is not always the case when you have a quite large ensemble of people who are very creatively charged and energized. It's really special. So for me, it's like, are you grounded? Do you have something unique to offer? Are you coachable? And kind of like, what's that resting emotional state? Like, are you somebody who compares yourself to somebody else to gauge whether or not you're successful? Or do you have your own rubric of values that you use to kind of evaluate what success looks like to you?
Great, I love that. And then you've TikToked LA, New York, West Coast, East Coast. So you're very, very close to a lot of the talent and a lot of the on the street intel, I would say. What makes your talent different to others? Like what's special about mirror talent?
I find mirror talent to be equal parts your best friend and your coach.
Okay.
where it's not about the performance, it's about the connection. And there's something really powerful about feeling close to somebody in a digital way, but actually feeling close, not like fangirl close, but close in that, oh my gosh, I feel like these people really respond to me. And what I've been able to see as the trainers connect with the members through their social media, even in a class out class announcements, and hearing, oh, Joanne, this is your 500th workout with me. Like, what? How is that possible? So I think that that is pretty special to know that our trainers like develop long lasting relationships with the members, and they really are kind of more your best friend and your coach equally, as well as, entertaining you.
Oh, that's great. So what next? When you look into the world of talent, what do you see coming up? I mean, I guess we've got, entertainment, we've got celebrities, we've got, all of those things coming into the mix. We've got the realities coming in, obviously, mixed reality, extended reality, goggles, headsets are going to be coming in, music. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in the future.
I think it's going to be a lot of noise. There's going to continue to be a lot of newness. And I do think a lot more partnerships, business to business, mergers, acquisitions. There'll be a lot more of that. Some expected, some unexpected. But I do think it kind of goes back to like one of my favorite quotes, like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together.
Yeah.
And I think that if there's individuals, if there's businesses that have adjacent goals with accessing and supporting their members or member base, those mergers and those businesses coming together, I think will be really fascinating to watch. I'm hopeful that mental health will have like another swing in a different direction. But what I also find to be happening is that there's a redefining of what mental health is, and then actually becoming a little bit more dialed in and having resources supporting what their definition of mental health is and how they, in that product, that content, can support that niche of an audience, which I'm starting to see a little bit. But I think that that will be interesting to watch, is how people kind of redefine what their health and fitness definitions are, and then offer content maybe to more niche audiences, and then also the big players who will merge and provide more.
Oh, that's great. Look, as long as I've known you, you've always been a first mover, always mixing around, right at the bleeding edge of what's happening next in fitness. So as Angela Leigh, what sets your soul on fire? And this is a question we ask all our guests.
What sets my soul on fire is all things growth and personal development. I have been an advocate ever since I've known you. And in fact, you were very much at the inflection point of like how I say, like, when my life changed, it changed in a moment in 2015. And then I just decided to stop looking elsewhere and start looking inside for like focusing on what I need to do for my own personal professional growth. So for me, it's growth, it's personal development. It's constantly, how can I be better? How can I support others? And how can I continue to like pay it forward? I've been so lucky to know people like you and the Jays and the Jules and the Lisa's of the world who've just been so generous with their time and talent. That also is incredibly motivating to me, as if I could ever support and help people get to where they want to go. That is also what lights my soul on fire.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, we're in the best industry in the world. We've got a lot of work to do. I wish you and Mira and Lulu and the Lululemon Studio all the best into the future. Thank you for your time. And I can't wait to see you in New York City soon.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks.